Okay, we are on the air now. Hello, men. Hello, Mgtows. Uh,
Hello.
Good morning.
hello. Today we have, let's see, Heartburn, Misanthropic Altruist. We have Warhorse. We have Zeta, and like always, it's the Sunday Throwdown. Uh, Today's topic, we're going to be moving around a little bit today. It's kind of broad. The red pill. Uh, is it just Mgtow, or is it the whole world? Do you see red pill in everything now? As you grow in Mgtow, do you start seeing more red pill moments every time you walk out that door? Does it lead to politics? Does it lead to the way you think when you go to work? Does it lead to the way you raise your children? Does it lead to the way you look? We all know it reflects on how you treat women, but that's not it. It's how you lead your life. What do you guys think about that?
That's a lot to think, I'd say.
Yeah, we gotta. You know what?
Before I jump in there, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Zeta X. It's about that awakening aspect of, connecting the dots when you become a Mgtow. And, the way it is for me, whenever I'm running into a situation, wherever it shows up, I see things totally different now. But I see things from what I wanted to see throughout my life, but couldn't. And now I have that opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
From all this knowledge and everything. Like I said, we've known it all along. It just needed to be pointed out, and that's what the red pill has offered and is offering men, as I see it.
Yeah, we have new identities now, sort of, and we have to apply those new identities in Mgtow and our new identities that we're allowed to say now. We're allowed to say this
Exactly.
in society. For the first time ever, men are allowed to say, hey, I'm a man, I'm masculine. This is how I'm going to apply these things to my life. If you don't like it, the whole rest of the world can go to hell.
Pretty much. Pretty
Yeah.
much. And, and it ties back. Once you get it, you can't go back. Right, and it doesn't matter how hard you want to try. So there is that, you can slip into that cognitive dissonance, right? And become a cipher, like in the Matrix, and go for the steak. But you can taste the steak, but is it really the steak that you're tasting, kind of thing? So no, it's no, we're telling it like it is, and they're not liking it. Okay. But again, that's what we're doing. We're pointing the mirror right in their face.
Right.
That's what our existence is people wake the fuck up.
Yeah, but it kind of drives me nuts anymore when I go into public. I notice it's so much more about how people act. The men included, with their white knighting, the gynocentric behavior, the entitlement of the women. It's actually very hard to go through a day without, just feeling lost in society, because there doesn't seem to be any like-minded people out there. It's all of us here on this, manosphere, YouTube area, whatever, that seem to be like-minded, but everybody else out there is just off their rocker.
Yeah, and this thing really works. Mgtow, I always looked at it like an antibacterial ointment that works. I can apply a little to almost any situation in my life, and it gives me a better frame of mind, and it puts me at a distance where I can observe and make better rational decisions, and it works. It's a better medication for the world. It's a red pill. So
I'm just looking at everything in the chat room. Yeah, we
what
just
is
got
the
four guys just showing up here, so we got a bit of a slow start here. That's okay.
I'm still
Okay.
chewing on my sandwich.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's why I'm being quiet here. I'm just
that was
taking in.
that was an interesting topic we were going to go to do today. What was Warhorse's sandwich? How big was that sandwich? Was that a Dagwood?
Ham and cheese, 4 strips of bacon, some Munster cheese, lettuce, and 2 slices of toast. So
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of a Dagwood.
It's kind of a Dagwood. So let me see where can we start off here. Um, well, like I've written in the sidebar in the low bar. I have my boy back this week, my son, and he's back in the house, and it brought me to another point, another Mgtow awakening, that it just doesn't end after 12, 13 years of child support and all those things. Sooner or later, you get your kids back, and you got to deal with the damage the state did. You got to deal with the damage that other men did. You got to deal with the damage that your ex did, and you had no control over these things. The state gave the wrench to the woman, you know. And
You mean they took the wrench away from me?
yeah, they took the wrench away
Yeah.
from you, and they gave it to the woman. They gave
it to the woman.
What damage she did with that wrench. This is like a machine. She went in there and she fucked up a bunch of shit. And now as an aging male, we get that thrown back at us again. It's like extracting our utility for the third time in life,
Yeah.
And we feel obligated to take care of these things, and we are. They are our children, and we want the best for them. But it's just another hit, and it's another designed hit from the social systems, isn't it?
It's played out so many times. Over, like I was saying earlier, over a span of 40 years, and the way feminism has infiltrated, for the better part of society. Looking at broken men, again, it's that resounding topic that we've been discussing. Guys growing up, single motherhood. Byrne's been talking about this for the longest time, right? Since you got on. So there's a lot of information. This is, you really got to look at these past 40 to 50 years, to really see what's happening. And here we are. We're showing up here in these rooms, in these spaces, and we're talking about it. That says a lot right there.
Yeah, it does. Like we said, for the first time ever in history, men are allowed to voice their complaints about the system, the social systems and institutions. Now we hear a lot with MRAs that you can't fight the system, and there's nothing we can do about that. One man, we hear that one man can't make a difference. Is that exactly true? One man can't make a difference, or does it depend on the quality, the character, and the strength of the single man that we're talking about? Like if we're talking about Joseph Stalin, yeah, he's going to make a difference. The Iron Man, he's going to make a difference. What I see around Mgtow is I see a lot of Iron Men. I see a lot of men that aren't going to say, that aren't going to take it. They're not going to shut up. They're not going to go away because some woman is yelling. All we hear is the screeching of and the laminations of parasites as we remove them. I see a lot of strong men that are willing to speak their mind, and that's got to scare the hell out of a lot of people. In the family situations and the government situations, and throughout the social, what was that? The cultural world, it's got to scare the hell out, because it threatens everything about their existence, about what they believe.
Well, let's see what the guys in the chat room. Do you guys have any questions going on there about what we're talking about? Let's hear it.
No, I don't think anybody's got anything going on.
Yeah.
There.
No, it's just filling up here. We got 9 guys watching so far.
I made a comment on somebody's YouTube video, not a Mgtow, but he's some kind of a psychiatrist or psychologist. I got a link to it, talking about narcissism. And, he kept referring to him, he, and everything else, and I put the comment in there that, why do you keep referring to narcissists as men, or in a male term? And he says, well, 75% of all narcissists are men. And I thought, what? I said, how about citation and shit? So he gives me a link to his own book. His own book, that's his citation. And I said, look, that doesn't correspond with what I see in real life or how men and women act. I said, your percentages are way off here. And then a woman comes in there, and of course she says, well, you know, it's people like you, commitment phobes and everything else, and the shaming talk, and you know, I said thanks for proving my point, because in effect what she did was a shaming talk, is she made it
Right.
all about her, all about women, all about, I mean, your typical narcissist, right? So they're still using the old tactics. They're not even aware of it. Now, she never came back and said anything yet, but you know, it kept going around and around. Now, why would this guy come up with this type of information and put it out there, and then women go into the shaming talk? Now, of course, this woman didn't know me, calling me a commitment phobe. Hell, I've been married twice, the last time for 28 years. If I'm a commitment phobe, brother, there's some trouble going on out there. But you know, here we go with this type of language again that just assumes, and the narrative is so ingrained in the female
Yeah.
version of thinking out there that even, and we know psychology, or psychologists in effect are gynocentric as hell anyway, the entire teachings of it,
Big
you know.
time.
Yeah.
So here we go. This is still what's happening. I don't, but although there were a lot of guys that came in after me on that comment thread that were saying about the same thing I did, you know, and then a few more came up with some more brilliant input than I had. And so I'm seeing it on the internet, in YouTube, if you will, but I'm not seeing it in real life out there. You know, people aren't really picking up on it, and especially guys, man. Guys are not picking up on it. Every time I try to talk to guys about it, man, they you know, they either make fun of it, or they dismiss it, or they become very angry about it, or whatever. I'm not seeing a lot of people with an open mind out there willing to listen to this or even look at
Well,
themselves.
well, that's just it. I think that's proof positive about what the blue pill's all about. I mean, it's keeping them blind. You know, they're stuck on their beliefs, and that's the way it is, and that's the way things got to be done. And to get out of it, and then being presented with that level of truth, holy shit! You know, that's exactly the response, Warhorse. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. What is
it's like something needs to go down in society. You know, and it's kind of interesting. You know, I'm looking at Canada right now with a new prime minister. You know, who is feminist, and if he's and looking at the Greg Elliott case right now,
Okay.
if Greg Elliott's going to do time, and everywhere else in the world, okay, mostly the Western world catches on, this could have an impact, okay, for you know, for the rest of society in terms of you know, implementing laws, you know, prohibiting freedom of speech. I think that's the first thing to watch out for, is if they're going to tighten the screws on freedom of speech. You know, heck, I might even lose my channel here because I am in Canada. You know, it could go to that extent. That's what I'm putting out.
Yeah, if males stop volunteering their utility, what is a commitment phobe? That's just saying, if males stop volunteering their utility, then it'll become illegal. It's like if you piss off a woman, you'll go to jail, and you can't speak it out because that'll be pissing off a woman, and then now it'll be illegal to even make them mad, in which it pretty much is nowadays. Anyways, it's illegal to make a woman mad. Uh, So this thing, it goes onward and it goes outward into our society, and I don't think these people really know what kind of effect it's going to have. It's just like starting a snowball at the top of the hill and seeing where it lands, and then they go, oh well, that was damaging, and but we don't really care. We just wanted to see where it landed.
Well, we've got some questions coming in from HD. Now, this is going back to your son, Joe. You know, and the question from HD Failure is, Joe, do you really think your son will grasp the red pill, or does he already? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, we sat down. We watched a few. You know, I do my video scan in the morning. I do that on the TV in the living room, and he was sitting there, and we watched some TFM, and you know, some of his "What Is Love" and how this relates to, and some Spetsnaz. I wanted to get him interested in Spetsnaz because Spetsnaz kind of hits the heart of the matter with children, and he can relate to some of those emotions and some of those things that happened while I wasn't around. So the red pill is really, it gives me a tool to work with,
Yeah.
and especially when you got guys like Spetsnaz, and he covers the traditional psychology of it, where I can use that to expand on my ideas with my son, and let him know. And the hardest thing is to let him know that I had no choice in this thing, and I wanted to save you. I wanted to bring you here. I wanted you to enjoy a better quality of life, and I wanted to provide that. And he knows that. We've talked about that over this week, the quality of his life, and where he's at, and how he was misled down some paths. And he told me some quite horrible stories, and I wanted to get him on one day and share some of those things that happened to him, because in Mgtow we see a lot of men that were raised by single mothers coming in, and they get it. They get it automatically because they can look at their mother and say, hey, she wasn't perfect. She wasn't that Virgin Mary Madonna. She had serious. But when you go out into public, everybody's like, oh, you're a single mother. Pat on your back. You're such a strong, independent woman.
Every single time.
Yeah,
every single time. That's what resonates all the time, and that's what dupes the fact, okay? Dupes the fact that guys can't see things exactly for what they are. And when abuse ensues, right, when you're living with a mother like that who happens to be abusive, okay, on many levels, this is the resounding thing. Don't ask, don't tell, do not question. Okay, and that gets ingrained, and then all of a sudden, boom, a group of men spring up all of a sudden on the internet on a Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and they're talking about this shit, right? This is it. This is where we're at.
The government's still asking for that same old policies of don't ask and don't tell. And what we're saying is we're going to tell on the government for putting the judge that put him in such an awful situation with a mother that was addicted to crack, with a mother that was substandard, with a mother that had to take social welfare, over a father that they just wanted to extract the utility and some kind of financial gain. And the state always errs in their own interest when it comes to the children. And they say there's this myth about it's always in the child's best interest. Well, that's bullshit, because the government will only err on the side of the government. If they can make $4 or $5 every time I send in a check, yeah, they're going to do it because they get that $4 or $5. And they're going to put that $4 or $5 or that $40, whatever they take, over the interest of the children and make sure that they get it. And that's where it becomes damaging to the children, because they have no the best interest of the child is just a line they use to make themselves feel better about their corruption and what they're doing.
And that's one of the layers that gets mounted on top of another layer, and it just exacerbates the problem even further that way, right?
But eventually,
it's crazy.
Like I say, it comes back to me. It comes back to all the men out there. Who's going to fix the problem? Who always gets who at the end of the day, when the grass isn't cut, when things are falling apart, who gets that job? Well, we're looking at the guys in this room. We all get that job to fix at the end of the day, and it gets thrown on us like it's our social responsibility. And that goes back to what Warhorse was saying. There's some commitment that we had to take. And, you're being a commitment phobe is just shaming us back into doing that work that they screwed up. They threw a wrench in the machine, and then they want us to fix that after they extracted what they can get out of that damage. We're not commitment phobes. We just know we're not given that utility anymore. And is that what they're seeing? And is the shaming of the word commitment phobe? No, that's bull. It's we're just pulling back our utility and saying no more. Now that's an interesting word, no, to a woman. And we got to start saying that to our government too, and lose the fear of our government. We got to start saying, no, I'm not going to participate in that program that I know is going to hurt children.
We're the no men.
Yeah,
That's who we
You
are.
know, if they could answer the question of what benefit do I derive from having a woman in my life? You know, what benefit do I derive? Answer me that question. Other than having maybe a child, which I don't want, I'm too old anyway, and I never did want him. But other than that, what benefit do I derive? Give me a solid answer to that question, and we can open a conversation. Until there is an answer to that, there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, what are they bringing to the table? You know, and that's the
Right. I
question
mean,
I
what benefit
always
do
ask.
I get out of
Yeah.
it? Because all this shit that I've done for my wives in the past, and everything else, I could have done for myself as well. You know,
Yeah,
and but here I was doing it for somebody else, of course, and myself as well. But you know, what benefit now would I have in my life to bring somebody else into my life that would cause me more work, more aggravation? Would it be for company? Well, fuck, I can leave the
yeah,
house and get company whenever I want it. My dog is actually very good company. And, what, sex? No, I can live without that pretty much. And, well, if I couldn't, there's the internet, there's porn
yeah,
all around, right? And you don't have to listen to any bullshit afterwards. Um, and there's nobody messing up the house. So what reason, what benefit do I derive from having a woman in my life? I
yeah.
don't understand how some people justify this. Some guys, that feel like, oh, I got to have a woman. Why? Give me a good friggin' answer. It can't
Right.
be company or it can't be sex. And if you need somebody to cook
Yeah.
for you and
It's
clean
that.
for you,
Yeah.
good luck,
Good luck.
because
Yeah.
women are usually nastier when it comes to cooking and cleaning and not doing shit around the house. Uh, Now, not all of them, of course, but for the most part, they're lazy slobs. So, what the fuck? I mean, this is something that I'd rather have somebody uh, out of my life, not in it, to
Right.
complicate things. So until that point gets across, then the government isn't making a good case for anything. You
No,
know,
they're not.
they're
No.
not telling me what benefit I derive from this. I derive none.
Yeah. There was a
So
term. There was a term I was thinking of this week, and it's very. It's around this my neighborhood. They're seeing the social system as bed bugs. They're starting to call them bed bugs, and there's a reason why they're starting. It's just something when they talk about HHS, when they talk about these people, they say, well, them bed bugs. And I started thinking about that. That makes perfect sense. These people are getting into your bedroom. That's the only way they have control and power is if they're in their bedroom. They're like little parasites leeching off. Leeching off of everything out here that in real life, and they're like bed bugs. They want to suck everything they can out of it. They're parasitical in nature, and that's how they keep this thing going with marriage and government institutions like that. They're just all in your business where they shouldn't be in your business. They're bed bugs.
well, now look, if a woman were to come by and say, sure, okay, she'll cook and clean, she'll paint the house, she'll do the yard work, she'll fix the cars, she'll maintain the motorcycle, and go shopping and all that, I may reconsider. But, you know, I mean, if you guys aren't rolling on the floor laughing right now, you should be. So,
Yeah. Well,
this
that's not
is,
reality.
no, because that's what we do. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So who's
Yeah.
getting the advantage here?
Right, they're writing blank checks, aren't they? They're writing
Yeah.
checks that are uncashable. They're saying, "Oh, well, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that." And even with that strong, empowered female thing, where she went to college and stuff. How many of those women apply their college degrees to the usefulness of the family?
Every woman that I knew, in my neighborhood before I moved up here, I'd gone through several families where the children grew up. Went through high school, college, and everything. All the girls from the entire block that went to college, of course, all arts majors and humanities and all
Mm-hmm.
that bullshit, right? Out of college, or even during the last few years of college, got married, and once they were done, had their degree, they got pregnant, had a couple kids, and boom, out of the workforce, stay-at-home moms, and all that. I mean, talk about wasting your money and time and your parents' money, because these I knew the parents better than the kids, but
Yeah.
you know, they're the ones that paid for it and wanted a good education. And now all the boys that grew up, of course, yeah, you know, not all of them went to college. Some of them went to trade schools and did quite well, actually. Some of them better than the guys that went to college. One of the boys went into teaching, and you know, he makes less than the guy that went into the trade school and ended up being an auto mechanic.
Yeah.
So you know, but anyway, the guys all made something of themselves, and the women, well, they got pregnant. You know, that was it. That's what a college education gives you. So that doesn't write a blank check either, Joe. You know, when women they say they're strong and independent. No, it's just
that's uncashable.
It's a smoke screen. It's a smoke screen. They want to throw that in your face. That I went to college. You know, what does that mean? It means nothing. I know people that are working at I know people that are working at you know, Starbucks that went to college. So you know, what the hell? I mean,
Mgtow, I was going to ask you. You say you have a younger daughter now. When it comes time for college, are you going to regulate her what she takes, or are you going to let that up to her? Will there be any gender studies courses in her future?
Oh, you know, if I imagine, because you know just who she is and a lot of things she's been through. She's been through abuse by a woman that I was with, and so there's a good chance she's not going to go to college. But if she does, no, because she'll most likely still be living with me. It'll be a local college, and then I should have some influence on what she takes. And you know, 10 now, I drop a couple little seeds here and there, but as she becomes an adolescent and older, I'm going to give her my own dose of red pill stuff, because it can be a benefit to her to being a decent human being, just as it would a boy, and that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, so as the red pill, this thing, you know, there's another thing we worry about. We worry about we have to somehow regulate the courses. And I've seen this with my son, too. I have two sons. One of them took vocation, and then one of them started a vocation, but he was the oldest son, so he took the brunt of the divorce. He was always the guardian for the younger child. He was always the one stepping up in front of the boyfriend that wanted to kick his ass and taking the punches. And my wife she brought some horrible people into our lives, into my kids' lives, and he's the one that kind of failed while the older brother was failing. The younger brother was reaping the benefits of the good that was coming from it. So he took a vocational course, and he's doing really, really good, and I'm really proud of my other son. But now I'm back to working on this son that had, you know, the damages done to him. And you know what? I go out into society now, and I start asking questions. You know, where could I send him to college? What benefits can I get from the social system service that damaged them so much? And they don't want to help out now. They say, oh, no, that's done. We're done with that. Well, after extracting hundreds of thousands of dollars from me, don't you think that somebody owes me a little help here? No. They throw the kids away. They're disposable. They became disposable men. So when we are talking about our children, and we can take that red pill knowledge, that Mgtow knowledge, and we can apply it and give them little seeds to direct their lives in a more useful way. Yeah, that's a good thing that can come from this.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I learned my lesson in my situation. You know, my kid's really been big on this. You need to get married, and you know, she's half joking around, but there's something real to that. And
yeah,
you know, I sit her down. You know, it doesn't work that way. And she was like, no, it doesn't matter. She really thinks it's as easy as just shopping. You know, going out and bringing her home to her mom. And I'm like, you know what? I can't do that. And I bring it back, and I'm like, you remember, you know, that one woman that hurt you? And I just say it. I mean, there's no beating around the bush. I can't ever let that happen again. And so the chances of me getting married are very little. You're probably not going to see it, but it doesn't matter because you and I have each other. You know, and that's the whole thing, because she's going to school that way. And she was like, no, it doesn't matter. She really thinks it's you know, her.
Hold on. I think it's Ryan Andrews that just joined us. Welcome, Ryan. Could you mute your window?
There's no beat around the bush.
You're gonna have to mute that, Ryan.
So the chances of me getting married are very little. You're probably not going to.
Ryan, hit the mute button on that.
Because you and I have each other, you know, and that's the thing, because she's going to school. She was like, no, that's nice. She really thinks it's, you know, her.
Okay.
I think it's right.
Ryan,
just joined us. Welcome.
Okay.
There we go.
And here we are. Yeah, thanks for muting them.
Okay, Ryan, you're gonna have to fix your sound there. Plug in your earphones and mute the sound on your second window.
Okay.
And that's Ryan Andrews in the room. Zeta introduced him.
Okay, we'll wait until he gets that together there.
Okay.
I believe. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. How's the audio?
Audio's
fine. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Yes, thanks for coming in. Are you up on the subject we were talking about? Did you have something to say right now, or did you just want to sit around, kind of listen in for a while?
I've been listening intermittently. I've been trying to get my audio and and video together, and talking with chatting with Zeta while he was getting me set up. Yeah, as I was mentioning to Zeta yesterday, I know we're talking about female nature and a lot of the other topics that tie into it all. And what I wanted to contribute today was, as I mentioned to Zeta yesterday, and as difficult as it is for men to admit, codependency is a huge problem with, not only with with men. It's especially, in my opinion, is from my experience, is especially bad from men than it is for women, because it's obvious in women and expected, but certainly not in men. And I can say that from first experience. I'm 52, okay. And a rock was dropped on my head 2 years ago, and that's when I figured it out. So,
yeah, codependency. Does anybody want to explain codependency? That's a cycle of enabling, isn't it?
Yeah, it's when a lot of people they think that it has something to do with addictions to to drugs, to alcohol. It's not that. It is when you care more about other people's, what they feel about you than you feel about yourself. Right. And your self-esteem, your self-worth is completely in the toilet. And what codependents do is that's when they turn to cigarettes, they turn to drinking, to sex, to food, to everything to squash those feelings. It's essentially it's a problem relating to people at the very core. And I grew up thinking I relate to people very well, but I did not, in fact.
Yeah. Now Zeta could probably the codependent is the person that enables the addicted, and in this case.
And that's just, I think from what the word that's resounding about codependency is validation. It's really an addiction to validation. Remember, we touched base on that, within the 12 steps. In the 12 steps rooms, that validation is that inborn need, and the majority of guys going into 12-step recovery groups, whether they're codependents or in other 12-step groups, they're there to substitute their addiction for a woman, right?
Exactly. Years ago, it started out as adult children of alcoholics.
Right.
years ago, and because alcohol was in the forefront, and it was at the it was the more I guess more present issue at the time. Well, over the years, narcissistic parents, one or both, abuse, sexual abuse, narcissistic abuse, which is emotional abuse, which was my case. The most probably damaging, most covert, silent type that one can go through. That was my situation. A lot of people, everybody's different, and everybody falls differently on the spectrum. And I've been married twice. I've had more than 30 relationships. I've skipped jobs like crazy, and I just felt like something my entire adult life, that something was not right. Something just didn't fit. And like I said, I got a rock dropped on my head 2 years ago, and that's what led me here. Here it is 2 years later.
But here's something interesting there, Ryan, is that they when you go into the codependent circles, it's always okay. Can you sorry? Can you kill that? I'm just hearing an echo there.
I don't think
the focus of recovery when it gets to codependency, whether it's in addictions or right across the board, okay, is to take ownership. Okay, for it's almost like it's your fault, it's your issue, and you take full ownership. But you hang around and you come to those rooms and you start to see eventually, and at least that was my experience, that wait, there's something missing here, right? And it wasn't until I got here into Mgtow and started listening in on this stuff that the dots started to connect. Most of that stuff, that validation that we seek for, we weren't allowed to question. Right? And that's what's being bred into us. We're not allowed to question. We've been gag ordered, essentially, until we got here. And then everything, we just put everything on the table. So really, Mgtow is uncovering what those codependencies are all about. How everything, dismantling the layers, taking it apart and looking at it for what it is.
Oh, absolutely. I blamed everybody under the sun for whether it was, relationship problems or my job, getting fired, getting laid off, whatever. I blamed everybody and never put the spotlight on myself. We tend to, well, I want to say that in the past tense now because, I'm out from under that rock, but you tend to minimize and sweep things under the rug and when I was dating or when I was married and I was talked to in a very abusive manner, the fact that I didn't shoot at my finger and hit the road is a clear case or a clear indicator that you're codependent. If if I don't tell someone to fuck off, if I don't tell my my wife or my girlfriend, or when they're treating me badly, it's and looking at them like they have two heads and spinning on my heels and hauling ass, I'm codependent. When you don't run away from that situation, and there's a reason for that, because my mom was is so narcissistic. I have been addicted to those type of women my entire life, and one failed relationship after the other, and I lived my entire adult life. Fortunately, I'm 52 now, but I found out 2 years ago, fixed it. And I've got plenty of time left to to enjoy it. But that's when female nature and Mgtow and everything fell in after that. So I got the triple bonus.
Wow.
And a lot of guys, it's very hard for them to to admit it, and it's a huge problem, and it's never talked about in Mgtow. The only circles that raise it from time to time, and I think it's a liability or a legal issue, perhaps, when channels go into those type of conditions and labeling, if you will, just to be careful. But Stefan Molyneux, he touches on it, but very rarely. He usually circles, around it. But it's rarely or not talked about at all, and it's a huge problem. I can tell when, I think I've subscribed to over 100 Mgtow channels at this point, and I've listened to so much content. I have probably 3,000 to 4,000 hours put in the last 2 years on codependency, Mgtow, female nature, you name it. And it's.
Well, hold on now, Ryan. You say that it's not talked about, but do you not see the underlying when you get into different discussions or different, different guys talking about it? Don't you see it dovetailing with codependency? Don't you see Mgtow what we're airing? Okay, unraveling the codependent thing, because I'm seeing it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's funny because here I am on the other hand. I'm looking at my phone. I'm screaming in my phone, saying, of course I'm not live on Hangouts, but I'm screaming at my phone, going, dude, you're codependent, man. Admit it. But they don't know it. They don't know it, and 99.9% of guys don't know that they're codependent.
Well, that's just beautiful. Yeah,
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not, their fault. It's not our fault. It's our parents. It's the way we were raised. It's not a bad thing, but God, it sure made my life hell. I've got a bad
tool for the gynocentric, isn't it? They use that tool as to get what they want, and it's secular to the problem, isn't it?
It's like blood in the water.
Yeah,
Joe, it's like blood in the water. Absolutely. They, they can, and I was, I have been, quote unquote, addicted, or found myself attracting like a magnet, borderlines and narcissistic women my entire life.
Right.
I can totally agree with that, because that was a huge part of my pattern. If I reflect on it, there's always red flags with these kinds of women, narcissistic kinds, and rather than be, it wasn't that I didn't notice. It was that I was like, okay, yeah, that was doing something for me. I was actually pursuing and allowing, malignant narcissistic women for whatever reason, and it obviously has something to do with that codependent angle.
Absolutely, absolutely. The fact that when we ignore those red flags and we stay in that relationship and we don't haul ass, we just kind of say, well, we'll fix it, or we'll make it better, or I'll change her, or a myriad of those thoughts. The fact that we ignore those red flags, you're codependent.
Is there
you're codependent.
Is there steps to this thing, like shame, apathy, bargaining, them things? Is there steps to codependency, like we see the person that needs the codependent come into your life, and then your reaction is this, and then their reaction is this, and then it starts the secular pattern of codependency? What would you define the steps as? I don't want to put you on the spot for a quick answer, but do you think there are steps to this thing, like a lot of things in life?
You mean in overcoming it, or noticing it when you're in a particular situation in the present?
Right, noticing and getting trapped in it. Really, pretty much is my concern, is how these guys, how we get trapped into them cycles of codependency.
Well, I think part of it is if you have a codependent or addictive kind of personality to begin with, which is largely due, as it was said, to how you were nurtured, how you were raised, you're not going to see these red flags in the same universe as somebody else with a healthy kind of self-confidence. When you will actually see someone who is just wretched, and somehow you will find a way to romanticize that wretchedness, and you were like, you know what? I want to work with that. I want to fuck with that. It's almost like, you see something dangerous, and rather than walking away, you're the first in line to partake in that danger.
Yeah, you want to fix it.
Yeah, you want to fix it.
Or sometimes you romanticize to the point that you want to bask in it, because there might be an underlying self-loathing where you're like, you know what, I don't deserve anybody good anyway. Fuck it. Let's see what let's see how fucking low I can get with this fucking piece of shit.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. Yeah, it's a horrible. My life, like I said, at 50, completely turned around. Once I figured out what it was, and I had no problem accepting that label. But when I found out what it was like, the sky opened up, and I'm like, oh, God, thanks. There's nothing wrong with me, because that's what narcissistic people do. And when you're in a romantic, relationship, and they're narcissistic, of course, codependents, attract narcissists like I was saying, like blood in the water. It's I lost my train of thought, but
yeah, I know where you're coming from. At what point in our lives, we wake up, we go, stop. No, I'm going to start to observe what's going on in my life, and I'm going to stop. I'm going to start applying these red pill principles, and then when you see that one that worked and it stopped that from happening, it's an awakening. It's like, oh yeah, that does work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Incidentally, like, you can only step. It's like, I don't really think you can go from a feeling of being completely, fucking miserable, and then jump the next day and be like, oh, I'm good now. No, you have to find some semblance of value in yourself, and that's the building block. It's the recognition of your own self-value. And if you've gotten beat down to the point where you have absolutely none, no one else is going to help you with that situation. No one else is going to, reflect or help you see any value that you may have. And so something like Mgtow, which is by default saying, hey, as a man, you have value.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because it's not just one person. It's like this, we call it a bunch of different things, but I think, I don't know, that's a powerful thing, and it goes back to that altruistic kind of brotherly thing. By default, you have value, but we're not selling it like, oh, by default, everybody deserves to be in love, and by default, everybody deserves it. Like, all that bullshit. This one's a more realistic one. Like, hey, as a man, you kind of got a rotten deal, but you have value. We see value in you because we've been through the same shit, and that's a powerful message that, I hope it expands.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And the effects that in every part of my life, not only romantic, but at work, within family, with friendships, and I was just, if I felt they felt, ill toward me, it just rubbed me the wrong way. And what you were just talking about a second ago, talking about essentially is self-actualization. Finding yourself, knowing who you are. When we're codependent, we don't know. We feel stuck in life.
We're other dependent when we're codependent.
There you go. Absolutely, absolutely. How my journey started was I was dating a tenured third grade school teacher, and we had been together for about a year. And I had already been divorced twice. I've been divorced for 5 years. I was going to get it right this time. And, on a Friday, I completed her, Jerry Maguire. I completed her on a Friday. Yeah. On Monday, she was gone. And, I found myself crumpled, in the hallway on my knees going, what the hell's wrong with me? And I was just so distraught over the fact that I lost her. But there were so many red flags that I ignored. There were so many things that I'm like, oh my, and I had to figure out what it was. And I stumbled across, in a couple of weeks later, and I'm still just, I'd lost my job. She had left, and I was a mess. And I was on the internet, and I came across a website. It's Rick Reynolds, Reignite the Fire, and because I was Googling why did my girlfriend left. Of course, all this popped up, and then a little bit of narcissism, codependency, and a bunch of other terms popped up. It essentially led me, to his site, and he's and that particular site is what opened my eyes to what I attracted, and and what she attracted. And she ended up being borderline, and I ended up being codependent. And on his site, he's like, borderline women are not hard to date, but you better have your shit together, and you better be self-actualized. They're a lot of fun. They're crazy as hell, but you know what? Codependent's a huge problem. You need to figure things out. Nobody's going to do it for you but yourself. But you. And research, on his website, he doesn't go into codependency, but he's like, this is basically what it is and why it's a problem in relationships, and you need to fix it. That's a problem. You got to fix it.
Ryan, you make a good point here. Hindsight is 20/20.
Yep.
And what we're trying to do here now, I think, especially with this Mgtow thing, is we're trying to get guys to be proactive and to start looking ahead as to what they're going to go into and what the downfalls will be. Because this kind of thing with women happens kind of slowly. It's not just the first date or the second date that you start to find out what they're all about. You become dependent on them because you become dependent on the closeness, the tenderness, the love, the fun, the whole adventure of it. And when that wears out, it slowly turns against you. Usually it turns against the man by the woman being very unhappy. So what we're trying to do here is trying to get people to be proactive, to understand, not to fall into that trap and end up thinking back about all the red flags that were there that we didn't pay attention to.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's really a shift, Ryan, that's taken place here in Mgtow. Everything you described was that particular mindset and what most men have gone through. And, I'm talking for 40 to 50 years in my case, right? Just looking at that. And all of a sudden a shift has taken place because now we're taking everything, like Warhorse was saying, and now the shift is we're now taking our relationship, our own behavior, the other's behavior, and putting it under a microscope. And that's something that we were not able to do before, but here we are doing it. We're talking about it, man.
Absolutely,
it's under the microscope. Yeah,
it is. I agree 100%. And it's funny you mentioned that because at the when I became a senior member of Mgtow, I got to think, female nature is bad enough. You loop in codependency and personality disorders and the cluster Bs and and that it makes things really bad for people and for men, and I'm just so glad that I can stand back and look at that now and be able to help people now.
Well, that's just it. You're now looking through the microscope. That's the shift that's taken place, and this is what we talk about here, man. Yeah, bar none, and we don't pull punches. We tell it like it is.
Exactly.
No, and we're just making people aware of, this is female nature, and realistically, we're not going to get females to change. It's in their biology pretty much. Of course, a lot of social pressure and what's going on with the entitlement is also prevalent, but look, if I go to the lake and I get bit by an alligator, I know better. I know alligators are there, and I'm not going to go and say, hey, look, the alligators need to learn not to come out of the water and try to grab me. I'm not food. I'm a human being. I can make all these rationalized projections of why an alligator shouldn't grab me. Unfortunately, that's not reality. I have to make sure that alligator isn't going to have a treat out of my leg because I'm dumb enough to walk down into that water, not make sure it's clear or whatever. So this is what I think we're getting at here, and it does come across sometimes. We harp a lot on the negativity of female nature, which it's there. Yes, that's most certainly true. However, not dealing with it is what gets people in trouble. Men particularly, because they don't realize what the nature is. Now, everybody's going to be afraid of a snake, right? Nobody walks up to a snake and grabs it if they don't know what it is. So that's kind of inherent. We look at other animals. We run away if we see a lion or anything that in nature would be threatening. If we see a tornado coming, we try to get the hell out of the way. But with women, we stand there like an idiot and embrace them. This is a mentality that we're up against. So what we're trying to do is just put it out there that, look, this is a real and ever-present danger. If you're going to play with this, you had better been good. And like Siegfried and Roy there, they thought they were good with a tiger, but we know that turned into a snack too, didn't it? So it just doesn't always work that way. And I've been the same. My first marriage, all the signs were there. Looking back on it, I saw them clear as day. Going through it, I didn't see anything. And I had a blind eye turned during my second marriage as well. That now that that's done and over with, I look back and I'm like, damn, got the wool pulled over my eyes again. Hopefully we can keep other younger men from making that same mistake by constantly bringing up the negative female nature, the narcissism, even the fun that you have with these crazy broads. And I've dated quite a few crazy broads. So you always think that, oh, you can handle it. You're a man. You're in charge. You're in control. That fools a lot of guys into thinking that they are actually in control when they're not.
Absolutely, Warhorse. And when you're up against somebody who has bigger issues than you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because when I healed myself from, healed, if you will, or cured, or whatever you want to call it, from codependency, and I'm like, yeah, this is great, because it was affecting every area of my life. And then, of course, then I had to look at females and female nature, and I'm like, oh, great, now I still got to deal with this. And but to answer Joe's initial question, quite a few minutes back, was how do you see it? When you go to work and the drama swells around you, and you get that pit in your stomach. If you ignore it, you're in trouble. And if you let them in, you're in trouble. And it's letting it bounce off and not feeding into that drama, because those are not good people. Because good people won't do that. I got in trouble at work so many times by feeding into the drama, but I was codependent. I didn't know.
Yeah, like Warhorse said, there's a Neoteny trap here. Their cute little bunnies have teeth.
Oh, jeez, that's a lure.
Yeah,
that's the lure. It's just, when they go all cutesy and prissy, I mean, that's it. It's hardwired into a man's brain. He's going to react to that, and that's it. It's hypnotic, man, when you fall into that spell.
The red pill stage of development in the life of a man would necessarily include being aware of one's codependence nature. But at that point, that doesn't necessarily make one a Mgtow. Being a Mgtow is you realize that the only place for you in the life of women in the West is to be a codependent simp. That's the only way you're welcome in a relationship. And of course, that's totally objectionable once you have come to terms with the fact that you're not supposed to be the simp in the relationship. You're supposed to be the man of the relationship, and there are women that will not allow that. And so you go your own way.
Yep.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Which is the statement of saying no.
Amen.
And then when you say no, this is what's interesting about Mgtow, okay? And for all those Mgtows that are out there, still interacting or have to interact to some level with women, test them out, say no to them, and watch them, okay? And this is how you can assess. This is almost like a surefire assessment where their headspace is at.
Oh,
Just
they'll make your life miserable even if you're not fucking them, even if you're just
exactly.
involved with them at work or anything like that. Women have no problem getting as dirty and low down as possible when shit doesn't go their way. And when you tell them no, or don't capitulate to their little whims and desires whenever they feel like it, they will have no trouble burying you alive. I mean, this is just, and it doesn't even have to be a woman that you're in a relationship with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they will, yeah.
Yeah, that's the communal thing.
Yes.
That's the cryptist thing. They all work communal. It could be other women. It could be your sister. It could be a daughter. It could be a friend. And most of the time, I found it's a girlfriend of a good friend that starts down this path. Is you got to respect her in this way. You've got to do this because somehow he's getting pussy, so you got to pay for that. Somehow they believe, and they start with that communal thing where all the community has to act that way.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that, Joe. 5-Speed just made an interesting point, which ties in with what I've said. When you say no to a woman, she will generally turn other women against you as well. And this is what I said, I think, last week, is when you meet a girl, okay, and she introduces you to her friends, you're no longer having a relationship with just her. You're having a relationship with all her girlfriends because they're going to talk behind your back, okay? And they're going to dictate to, oh, he's good and he's not this and and this and that. And eventually that's going to come back to you. So that's what I found, and a lot of guys are discovering too as well. You're not having just a relationship with your girlfriend. You're having a relationship with all her girlfriends.
Yeah, when all of a sudden you're wondering why all these women that were friendly before are now treating you with a cold shoulder and giving you shit. Yeah, that's because they were talking about your ass.
About you, exactly. And believe me, they're talking about how they're having sex with you, how your girlfriend's having sex. She's talking it over. So,
or how they're gonna fix you.
Yeah, typically, guys, we really don't talk about the night before. And sometimes we do, but in most situations, I think that we don't. We pretty much keep it on the table.
I guess when we were younger, we wanted to hear how good that quality of a fuck it was, and trying to one up the other guy. Oh, I fucked her better than you. That's the way it was. I mean, this is the way it was back in when I was in my 20s, right?
Yep.
And I think that's and that's the thing. I mean, men are almost amongst themselves. We're conditioned to talk about sex all the time. That's the hot topic. That's resounding all the time. How good was the sex? How good was she? Did she do this and that and the other? That says a lot right there, but nobody breaks it down as to why. Why do men do that? Why do women do that? Hey, we're talking about it here. This is the place, man.
I don't think that men really talk about sex as much as women would like to think we do. I think they're projecting their own talks onto us, and I mean, we've said things, even in my circle of friends, when we joke around a lot and say, oh, yeah, she's a screamer, or call a chick kerthunk because, what does kerthunk mean? Well, your balls hit her chin, So it's just a joking type of thing that we talk about. We don't go into specifics, of play-by-play action throughout the whole thing. But women, on the other hand, and I've heard them talk like this when they didn't know I was around or, whatever. And they will talk about every friggin' detail. I mean, disgusting detail, that should never, ever leave.
Well, now in the dating scene now, not only do they come on them, and it does talked about behind, your back and whatnot, but a new dynamic, they've actually...
Oh, he's breaking up.
Extent, they're pretty much giving you a referral. and they know that one of their girlfriends.
Oh,
Hello?
he's gone. Okay, no,
He's
he
gone.
left
Yeah,
the
lost
group.
connection.
Yeah, he left.
Okay.
Something was breaking up real bad on him there.
When my relationship ended 2 years ago, all the friends that I had made through her, guys, even parents in some situations, just as acquaintances, but still. But when that relationship, remember, Friday I completed her. Monday morning she was gone. But from that point forward, all those relationships that I had formed over that past year, they went completely dark. She turned them completely against me, and that's what they do. I think majority of them do, maybe not all of them, but yeah, I mean, they went completely dark. And
Well, that goes along with the victim narrative. The woman
yep.
always plays the victim. She's going to get all these people on her side, feel sorry for her, and yes, they all do that. I mean, I haven't met a one yet that
Yep.
wouldn't turn everybody against you. If you're the dirtbag that she left, even if she fucked around or did whatever,
Yep.
you're still the dirtbag. You're the one to blame. It's a victim narrative, and anytime you talk, even older women, and we're all pretty much older people here, older, by that I mean 40 and up, but I mean, the women I talk to around here, joking around, hey, you got an old man or this and that. Now I kick the bum out. I mean, it almost without fail. Number one, he's a bum. She kicked him out. And I don't even go in for any more than that. And this is just asking these women this type of thing because they sit so close to me, and then I go on afterwards and say, I was wondering why you bellied up next to me at the bar, kind of joking around. Not that I want to pick them up, but the comeback is always the same. The guy's the bad guy. She's the one that initiated, and of course, right off the bat, even though I don't know her or her ex, he's a bum, right? So therefore, I need to take her side. This is how women manipulate the narrative. It's victimhood.
Nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head, Warhorse, and you add, and that's just general female nature. You add, you add a cluster B to that, and you got a big mess on your hands. That's for sure, right?
Yeah. The poor, they want that cry on your shoulder.
Yeah.
It's not even a shit test. It's more or less like they want to use you as a what do you call it, as a emotional tampon. And any guy or any person that'll listen to them, they want that person on their side. They want to get it all out. They want all this bullshit, and most people fall for it. I don't personally, but yeah, I'm one of this crowd. So obviously, none of us are going to fall for that shit, or at least I hope we don't.
And this is the other thing too, to add to that. I mean, isn't the broken record playing over and over again right across the board, worldwide? Men are starting to speak out about this. Okay. And because of this, it's happening. It's because we're uncovering. And the thing is I'd like to see it come to a day that men who are inquiring about Mgtow and what's going on, to the point that it gets passed on, that it's so transparent that women can't hide anymore. They can't play those little games anymore. I'd like to see it get to that point, Well,
the thing is that we've known this all along. We've talked about it all along. Even when we were in relationships, we were aware of this entire paradigm. But the thing is, we didn't take it serious at that point. Now we're starting to take it serious and actually do something about it, which is something that has never happened before. I don't think. I've never seen it before in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I think with social media and all that, so I think it has to do with technology. I mean, with social media, with YouTube, with especially YouTube, because one time we could only read web pages, that took 30 minutes to, to appear on your screen. Now, we have all this information at our fingertips at any moment of the day. And we have all the information that we could possibly ever need. And, back then we didn't have that. And you're right. It's going to be it's going to be very interesting. I hope to see something in our lifetimes, if not my kids.
Ryan, just us talking here. I mean, we're just a piddly little proton, okay, in the manosphere, just talking about this. Even and joking back up the figures there, we're maybe a total of 100,000 active on YouTube, Joe. Something along those lines. We're only about 100,000 active, but the pool, the sleeping giants, is probably 100 million men worldwide that have yet to wake up, and they're seeing this right now. They're seeing all this play out, but they're gagged. They're pretty much gag ordered.
Well, a lot
because
of
the codependency.
A lot of men are still out there unwilling to look at it objectively, and they don't want to hear it that way. Like I said, the one buddy of mine, he swore up and down the girls in the Philippines aren't like that, and that he's going to go back to there and, this and that, and those women there are so great, nothing like these at all, and, and then I look it up, and of course they are. They have the same female nature, the same type of thing going on over there that is in the rest of the world. Nothing makes them exempt, but the technology that Ryan brought up is exactly why it's getting out here now. It's getting put forth in places like this. The YouTube community, the Hangouts, we're able to communicate and talk. When I came into the internet type world or whatever, we had forums, or the old MSM pages and whatnot, which you could communicate kind of good, but you never got a feel for anybody. Now we're getting a feel for people, and it's more relatable. And it's more human than reading somebody's crap on a page. So even though sometimes there's not a face to the voice, but there's a voice, a real voice talking in real time, which is something that, I'm 58, so most of my life wasn't spent on a computer at all. So, this is going to snowball, I think. How much, I don't know, but we're going to get more and more kickback, I think, too.
I agree 100%. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's, even my closest, friends here, Warhorse, I'm in Cigar City, by the way.
Where's Cigar City?
Cigar City?
Yeah.
Tampa?
Yeah, pretty close. Pretty close.
Oh, Tampa. Okay, we're only a couple 100 miles away, or 150 roughly.
Yep. And even my closest friends, and even family members that guys that I see this happening to, I'll try to ease into it. I mean, at first I was, when I dove headfirst into Mgtow, I was like, yeah, this is great. Everybody's gonna come on board like that, and they looked at me like I had two heads. I'm like, okay, I have to ease into it, and over a several week or several month period, I would send videos, and I would send links, and all of your links, and Sandman, and well, I'm just pulling names out, and Stardust, and TFM, and just slowly, depending. I got so good at it that I knew the contributors, the content producers so well, and I knew my family member or close friend so well, I could match up the right videos with the right personalities, and so they wouldn't run for the hills. But even still, they won't see it. They won't. They'll go, oh yeah, I could see that. Okay, well, I got to get ready for a date. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. Well, the other thing we got working against us. Ryan, we got a feedback there.
I'll fix that.
Okay. the living in Florida, the age is a little bit more advanced than most places, you know, unless you go into the big towns, downtown areas, stuff like that, or into the nightlife. We have a lot more people that are closer to senior years. Of course, the snowbirds are all going to be older and what have you. And a lot of these people are tradcons, if you will, you know, to use that term. And they firmly believe in what it was like back when. And they keep going back to that, and they promote this idea of marriage, you know, with younger guys, like, you know, if a guy says, oh, yeah, young guy says, I'm getting married, they, yeah, you go, you know, I hope she's a good woman, and can she do this and that, because a lot of us older guys, not me per se, but, you know, a lot of the ones I'm around even, are still stuck in the past of how things used to be and what was expected of you. I notice that a lot of the older guys are unwilling to compromise in at least a little bit when it comes to anything about Mgtow, or even any negative comments about women whatsoever. You know, unless you say, yeah, she nags a lot. You know, that you might get a nod to. But anything else, nah, they're going to just blow that right off the table. So a lot of the old guys are not helping the cause.
Oh, I agree. I can't tell you how many friends, you know, our age that I've lost. And I've known them for, you know, anywhere between, you know, 10, 15, and 30 years. And they won't have anything to do with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain resistance that needs to be jumped over. It's like a hurdle with a lot of blue pill men, and that resistance that's always been queer to me. It's you see it a lot when you mention Mgtow and you mention what we believe in around here with your blue pill friends, and like you said, some of them are gonna say, if you give them that old, you know, oh, my old lady was bitching routine, then they accept it. But as soon as you say, hey, you know, women have a certain behavior, and they're not always, you know, the Virgin Marys, they reject that. It's like they can't even hear you. And I was always really interested in what that was, how we can identify that, and work out a little bit of a program to work men through that.
I'll tell you exactly what it was, Joe, or what it is when you get into our age group, you know, the 50s, 60s, and onward, you try to talk to men that all their life have lived like this and had this point of view, and now you're trying to change your mind and what's happening to them internally. And it happened to me too for a while. You know, how can I have been wrong all these years? You know, it worked out pretty good for me, and, you know, yeah, of course, you know, marriage is hard work and blah, blah, blah. You rationalize, you justify, but how do you admit all of a sudden, with all this information coming at you, if it comes very fast, that, you know what, I was wrong. My entire fucking life, I was wrong. You know, it's unfathomable to try to take this all in and admit to yourself how stupid you actually were, when most of these men aren't stupid. They were just hoodwinked, you know, and they allowed it to happen, but they can't now admit that, in fact, they got one pulled over on them. You know, that's the underlying thing. How do you admit that to yourself? You know, that all your life, that's like me being told by everybody, you know what, Harleys fall apart and they're garbage, they're junk, and me saying, oh, why didn't I see this now? You know, no, and this is the way these guys are looking at it with marriage, with women, with, you know, I get sometimes sit around a group of men, a woman will walk by and they're like, hey, watch your language, a woman's here, you know. It's predominant with that thought pattern of the older crowd, especially. You know, the soul.
Right, aren't they emotionally invested?
Yeah, I think I have an answer to that, Warhorse. It's because over time, our EQ, I don't know if anybody has heard of EQ, or emotional quotient, as opposed to, you know, IQ, intelligence quotient, but our emotional maturity increases because of the work that we've done, whether it's been through Mgtow, whether it's been healing, from codependency, whether it's been, a myriad of many other things. Where at one point our emotional maturity was not where it is today, and that's the transition that happens. Most men will never admit to that or agree to that, because they'll never say, "Oh, I was never emotionally immature." Well, in my opinion, yes, they were. Yeah, or yes, you were. If I were talking to one directly, and because I was there. I mean, my emotional maturity was. Yeah, I don't think you could get any any less emotionally mature than where I was at. It's all, everybody's different. We're all on a spectrum, and I was down there. I was on the floor, and it's taken quite a bit of time.
Yeah. Sexy Mgtow did a pretty good video. I enjoyed it on emotional IQ, and he was making the parallels between emotional IQ, and some men have it, some men don't. And we can expect this with about 30% of men that never really have the IQ to transcend this red pill thing. And it's not like we can disregard them. We just have to find a way to maybe even talk down and simplify these things for them, so they see it.
Aren't we kind of brought up as, well, the older guys are anyway, I think, that we don't have to really be aware of controlling our emotions, because we're always in control of them anyway. As a man, you don't let your emotions out and everything else, which, I mean, this is a falsehood, but we think we're always in control of our outward emotions. And this is, I think, the problem, that where a lot of guys don't know how to differentiate between the neediness of having a woman or a relationship or whatever, and walking into a place and looking hard and tough. That they're equating the two, and it's a false equivalency. I think. I mean, that's kind of what I'm.
I think, Warhorse, exactly what you said, and the key word is think. You think that you're just that, but that's the problem. With codependency, your denial is a huge part of the I call it, they call in the field out there, they call it, it's not a disorder, it's not a disease, it's a condition, until it's fixed. So this condition, that's denial is a huge part, of the codependency condition. And so, and that's, you think that you're aware of your emotions, you think that that your emotional maturity is where it should be, you think, when in fact it's not. In fact, a lot of work needs to be done, and that is why I think most men, or those men that you're referring to, who just don't get it, who don't get the red pill, because because they're making 7 figures or 6 figures, just because they're successful in their professional life, making all kinds of money, but they get home and it's Simp City. Yeah. Well, and that's a problem. And chances are they're codependent.
Well, that's the illusion of control.
Yep.
Yeah. Do we have to shame them out of that? I get this, accused of this all the time, that we do a bit of shaming here, and when we got names for these guys, real solid names. We call them simps, manginas, white knights, and them are the guys we're focusing on. We're empathetic towards what they're going through because we've went through it, so we can see it, and we can see it in ourselves. But at a certain point, you just got to say, "Hey guys, you guys are simping. You guys are white knighting. You guys are," and then we get accused of, trying to shame them also, which is just a rhetorics. It's just a bit of rhetorics they pull on us. But we do know those guys. We can see them and we can identify them, and those things. But it's that busting through point with them. that I guess that's always been a question of Mgtow is how do we break through these guys? Because, well, generally they're 30 to 70% of society, of male society.
Well, here's the thing. Look, we've all fallen off the edge of the cliff, right? That's how we hit our head, and we had to come to the realization that when you're playing on that ledge, that there's a good possibility it's going to crumble and fall off on you, right? So basically, some of these guys need to be pushed off the cliff.
They need to be pushed off the cliff.
They're kind of hanging on by a toe grip, right? And I think what we need to do is just walk up behind them and push them off. Hey, there you go, boom. This is what it takes for them to open their eyes up. Shaming talk, yeah, okay, there's going to be a certain little amount of it. I don't think laying it on heavily like the jihadists do, but I think a little bit is going to be normal in normal conversation. But literally, these guys are going to have to take the hard fall, and when they do, that's when they're at their most open to listen, to reason. It's after they've taken that fall and hit the ground.
And that was me, absolutely, Warhorse, and that was me. I can't tell you how much that was me. Every time I hear White Knight, Mangina, and Simp, I equate that 110%, and this is just my opinion, codependent. White Knight.
I think we were all there. I think we were all there once.
Yep.
Yeah, we can point out.
You have to hit your rock bottom.
You have to. That's huge. Yeah, absolutely. That's huge right there. You have to hit rock bottom. If you don't,
exactly. That's exactly what needs to be looked at.
I can take you on a journey, and I could even throw myself under the bus here. So, in my marriage, the toll of that was I lost a great sense of I guess character or charisma. In this marriage, she kept me from certain opportunities, and that was a huge thing. So what do I do in the next relationship? I find someone who fucking wrecked me in such a way where I thought, you know what, I'm not that smart. So the pride in my intelligence was gone. So I had one last thing, and that was, well, you know what, I'm a really good fuck. Spent most of my life trying to master that art. I'm good, and that's where I took pride. And and at a certain point, everybody has a different rock bottom. Just the fact that I'm still dating a little bit, I'm putting myself out there on a risk factor. And it could be a little field thing. What if it's a rape charge thing? That could be a new rock bottom for me to even go fucking hyper red pill.
Right.
So there's different rock bottoms for everybody. So
yeah. Hey, I wanted to say at this point that the bottom doesn't have to constantly sink. What Mgtow can do, and what we do around here, is we raise the bottom up to meet the man, not beat the man down to hit the bottom. Raise that bottom up by pointing out little things that you see now will save him that big mistake later. And you hear that a lot if you're in the codependency business or the dependency business. You're going to hear, we got to raise the bottom up. We can't shove them down to the bottom. There's a difference in those two ideas.
You're right, Joe. We don't have to knock everybody to the bottom, but some guys refuse to listen.
Right.
All it takes, look, if you're on that ledge and you've got a toehold, all it takes is for you to reach your hand out, and one of us will be more than happy to grab it.
That's right.
So that you don't fall. So but if you don't put your hand out, all right, I'm not going to put mine out and have you take me over the edge with you. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. So, that's a long climb back up.
If you insist on going over that edge, I'm going to watch you do it, and I'm going to watch you bounce at the bottom. Hopefully, you don't fall into the quicksand. That's off to the side. But look, this is what I'm saying. Some guys do have to hit bottom, and other guys, they see it while it's happening, and they put their hand out. They reach out. And yes, we'll be here for them at that point, but they got to put their hand out. If they don't, then, my God, have a nice flight down.
Absolutely. And denial is one of the pinnacle symptoms of codependency. And as long as they keep denying it and they don't take our hands, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. It just they just get back into the same pattern that I did. They just kept doing the same thing over and over again with women, with business relationships, with with friend relationships, with family relationships. Just on that treadmill, just doing the same thing over and over again, and crashing and burning, but and never looking inward into why that was happening, never figuring out what the common denominator is, and it's you.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a child. You keep telling it not to put the hand in the fire,
Yep.
and until they do, they will learn at that point that the fire burns and it hurts, and there's repercussions to what you've just done. And I think a lot of guys, if you save them too early or try to drag them out, guys like the straight shooter are very hard to find. Guys that are still married but see the wisdom in it and everything else, and that are aware of it. Most guys will shut that down until it's too late. And trying to save them when they don't want to be saved, I think, is doing a disservice to those men, because they do actually need to hit that rock at the bottom. And,
They do. Yeah.
It's a rude awakening, and it is hard. Trust me, guys, I know this.
Well, that brings
ahead.
in. Oh, you're cutting out. I didn't know. Sorry. Well, it brings up an interesting point, like shooter, and I guess to a certain extent myself. Like I still date, but I don't date the same anymore. And I have this really strange foreign concept for men to have in 2015. I have a lot of boundaries, and I vocalize these boundaries. For instance, this one I was seeing. She would talk about her friends, and she'd talk about this one particular friend in a way where, like, this chick, every time I've introduced a guy I've dated before, they flirt, and, that this woman has betrayed me a few times, and, my first question is, why the fuck is she still your friend if that's an issue for you? And then the second thing was, like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, we skip forward, we're on this date, and, she got a text from the same friend. She's like, oh, she's going to stop by and have a couple drinks with us. And I'm like, no, she's not. I'm like, all right, here's the thing. I don't know if, and I told the woman, I'm like, I don't know if you realize it or not, but you just set me up. So you have a friend with this pattern of allowing your men to hit on her, or vice versa. She's probably doing it just as much as they are.
Right.
And you're still her friend, and you're still willing to introduce this woman to a guy that you've been seeing. And I'm like, I'm not playing that game. And I got up and I walked the fuck out and I drove home.
I was letting my girlfriend go on girls' night outs to clubs and didn't have a problem with it. That's a huge problem.
Well, here's the thing.
That's a huge boundary problem. Like Misanthrope was saying, it's boundary. I can tell he's done a lot of work, in the codependency field.
Can I just interject there, Ryan? My business makes money off women who pull that kind of a stunt. Girls' night out, I make money off that. Not getting into details, but just to let you know.
Sure. I would never, growing up when I was, whether dating then or now, or well, I haven't had a date in 2 years, and this is what I've been doing for 2 years. But whether I was married or pre or post Mgtow, and my healing from codependency, girls' night out, sure, not a problem. Go out, have fun. Where are you going? Oh, we're going to Club X. Oh, that'll be fun. Great, go ahead. I'm being the good husband or the good boyfriend, and I'm understanding, letting her go. And that's such a codependent, symptom. Boundary breaking of boundaries that but we don't know until we find out for ourselves.
Yeah, what kind of denial did you put yourself through at that point? Denial and contradiction are the same word, and what you're doing is being contrary to truth. What kind of denial did we put ourselves through? And I've done those things before, where I'm permitting something that really I know back in my head, there's a cognitive dissonance, and I know that is wrong. But I'm going along, and I'm going along, and I'm being strung along because I wanted everything to be okay. But back there in that little lizard brain in my head was saying, no, 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 Joe, you know that's not right.
Don't rock the boat type thing.
Yeah,
we're
happy
ignoring,
words, happy life.
We're ignoring that pit in our stomach, and that is classic codependency. When we ignore that pit in our stomach, that is classic codependency.
Well, look, here's the thing, too. And I see this is where a lot of men have the failing of not taking charge of the situation. You know, my wife, when I first went out with her and met her and everything else, and the girl night thing came up, I said, all right, well, you know, you go have fun, and then me and the guys are going to go out next Friday, and we're going to hit this one local, well, actually it was a strip joint right up the road. And she's like, well, geez, we're not going to the strip joint. I said, yeah, but, you know, you're going to have guys there, right, and everything else. She says, yeah. I said, all right, these strippers, they don't, you know, they just take their clothes off. We're not doing anything with them. And she, you know, she got a little pouty, and I said, well, you don't like that, huh? I said, well, it's just a guy's night out, right? And she says, well, I guess. And after a while, I said, well, look at it from my point of view. You said a girl's night. Well, what do you expect of me then, right? So what's good is good for the goose is good for the gander, and here you go. Same thing when she had a, yeah, and she had a girlfriend, you know, that was a girlfriend before I'd met her and everything. I met the girlfriend and her husband and everything else, and then a couple months in, she tells me, well, you know, this girlfriend, yeah, she kind of had an affair and everything. Don't say anything to her husband. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. I says, you're still talking to this broad? I says, what if I had an affair and he knew about it? How would you feel? I says, would you want me to hang out with him, or, you know, if he had an affair, whatever? She says, no. I says, good. Then how about you break it off with her? She says, well, I've known her since grade school. I says, what the fuck does that matter? Her character sucks. Break it off, or you and I don't need to be together. I don't look at shit this way. And I put my foot down. A lot of guys won't do that. Now, she saw it my way, you know, because I reversed the roles every time something came up. You know, when she had a job, which was early on, trust me, she didn't have one for very long, but, you know, she'd go out with a guy from work, her boss actually, and I said, how would you feel if I went out with the secretary at my dealership, who was a good-looking redhead, and she knew her? I said, how would you feel if I went out with this redhead for lunch a couple times a week? She said, boy, I wouldn't like that at all. I said, there you go. I said, you got your answer, what I feel about you going out to lunch with him. And she stopped. You know, sometimes you have to be a man, stand up for shit, and put the ultimatum out there. You know, if she would have continued on with it, I would have walked away. I would have not looked back at that point, because I don't need that type of character in my life.
Right. There's always a preconception that men are going to do something wrong, but turnabout is fair play. And I found in most relationships that, you know, I've done this myself and been in a relationship, long-term relationships where, you know, she says, I'm doing this, and I go, okay, well, I'm going to go call up, you know, Jenny, my old girlfriend, and let's, you just got to trust me. And then there was this preconception, all that men are out there to screw around, that men are doing this, and that's what they get fed from the time they're little girls to the time they're, you know, in college, that men are crap, men are shit, men are untruthful and bad men, and that's just a fallacy. And then we get laid on top of that, the women are the Virgin Madonnas, and none of them would do anything wrong. But we know that's, you know, not the truth. That's part of the denial, the breakthrough, that when you realize, and I always say this, when you realize your mother wasn't all that, when you realize maybe your mother had some faults, and then you can apply that to every woman you meet. Oh yeah, it starts hitting you. A lot of rocks start hitting you all at once, and then men come to that point where, can they take the rocks hitting them, all those little red pills hitting them at once, or all those, or do they need them spoon-fed a little bit of it at a time? Because that is a hard moment in their life when they start applying the red pill truth about it, that no, all women aren't the Virgin Marys. There was never really one out there to begin with.
Zeta?
Hello. Yes.
Yeah, no, you popped up on screen there. I thought you were
Did
going
I
to say
pop up?
something.
No, I didn't. No. Jeez, it's just thinking in mind of its own, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like what Misanthrope said, and I'll be dating in a different way, much like how he's dating now. I'm going to be dating in the same way, and I won't even let the conversation start. She'll be, I'm going out with the girls, and we're going to Club X, and I'll see you around 2 a.m. I won't even let it get that far. I'm gone. Bye. Oh, you are? Okay. Bye. That's it. I'm done. Don't let the door hit you in the ass.
Yeah. It's just you get over those things and you go, okay, yeah, fine. I'm going to lead my life as a Mgtow the way I want to lead it, and maybe tomorrow you'll be included, or maybe tomorrow, and that's the releasing point where you look out there and say, hey, there's 3.4 billion women in the world, and why am I putting myself through this for one that kind of caught my fancy?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and the only thing. And the only thing about the only thing about Mgtow is like, okay, so here I am. I'm raising my emotional maturity. I'm raising my EQ. So, and when we do that, we're basically attracting ourselves to women. I know all women are like that. We know that.
Yeah, we know that.
But because what I learned is that water seeks its own level. So at a certain point in time, when we attract people in our lives, we're attracting the same emotional maturity level that we are, whether it be friendships or especially romantic relationships. Water seeks its own level. We're attracting the same emotional maturity level that's the same as ours. Now, we're two different people. She may just be this crazy bitch, and we may be this mellow guy, but nonetheless, at the end of the day, our emotional maturity levels match perfectly.
Wait a minute, though. I do have a problem with that to a degree, because what happens when women become our age in the 50s, they become even better chameleons at appearing to be sane and calm and knowledgeable. And what I've found, even with women our age, when they're left to their own devices, when they're not trying to impress a man, or they're not out on a date or what have you, and you observe them, that they still have that 16-year-old childlike mentality.
Absolutely.
That all women have.
Yep.
So, the fact that they're...
That's not what I'm talking about, Warhorse.
Okay.
And I have this conversation a lot. That's not what I'm talking about. The woman who knows what she has her provider, and she's going to, and I have family members who, in this particular situation, she's not going to fuck up that situation. If she's in a situation where she's well taken care of, she's working, but he does very well. But she knows what she has, and she will do and take care of him, whatever it takes to keep him happy for the next 40 years. She has a much higher emotional maturity about her than other women, than most women. That's how.
Again, look, I think women will monkey branch forever. And look, my wife was in a nursing home for the last couple of years here, and I went into these nursing homes, and I saw plenty of men in there where their wives were just too busy on the dating scene, and I'm talking about women in their 60s and 70s, okay, going out trying to hunt down the next utility they can find, and not giving a shit about this poor bastard that's, having trouble eating, being under the control of these crap-ass nurses or so-called nurses in these places, living in these conditions. So the monkey branching never ends with women. I'm sorry to say. Yes, if they're secure now, but if the opportunity arises, they will monkey branch in a heartbeat. I don't care what age they are or how mature they are.
That's the Red Queen. The Red Queen never stops running.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, we call it monkey branching, but the Red Queen, she's never going to stop running. And I wanted to go back a little bit to the AWALT and NAWALT thing. We say NAWALT a lot, but do men really understand that around here? Some men just don't get that all women, we start from the bar that all women are that way, and the Red Queen does not stop running, and that puts you at a safety and a security in your life as long as you take that attitude. And that can go as far as women are evil to women are this, women are that, and that's not a matter of it's just a matter of opinion and personal beliefs. But as soon as you get that all women are like that, and the Red Queen keeps running, you know a lot. Then that's primary to Mgtow. That's the primary message, and what you can take from that is keep yourself safe, out of risk. You can apply the observations to your life, like Warhorse was saying. The observation, even in an old age home, these women keep doing it. So basically, they are all like that, and as long as you apply that, you're safe. You're safe to a marginal degree.
They are all like that. It's just that some of them are so good at doing it covertly.
Right.
That it's hard for anybody to realize it until everything is said and done. You know, until it's over, until it comes to push and shove, then you realize, oh shit, I got the wool pulled over my eyes again. But she was shy, she was demure, very feminine, very loving, and very caring, and all this shit that you convince yourself of that, oh, she's not like that. Bullshit. She is like that. She's just coming at it from a different angle. That's all, and one that we don't expect out of modern women. So they're being very covert about it as to how they're going about it, convincing you that they're not a woman like that. But they are. It is their biology. It's undeniable. It'll never change, guys. You know, no matter what people want to say, and of course every woman you talk to, every woman I talk to, says she's not like that. You know, that's strange. How could that be?
Yeah, a woman who's not like that wouldn't have to show it anyways. But that's just it. That's just it, guys. What this is all about, and what we're talking about, is about putting on your infrared lenses. You know, we get in touch with a woman. We now have infrared lenses. We can see through it. Okay, and that's what we look for, and that's what we discuss. And we, you know, when we run into a situation scenario, we bring it to the throwdown, and we tear it. We break it apart. We dismantle it. And that's what that's what it's all about, really.
Warhorse, did you date my ex-girlfriend?
I might have back in the late 70s, early 80s. But,
everybody did, Ryan. Didn't you know that?
Yeah, at the ELO concert.
I saw Eddie Money.
Eddie Money.
About 18 months ago here in town, and at one of the casinos, and wow, memories. Anyway.
Well, at least he didn't go see Casey in the Sunshine Bend there in Florida.
Oh God!
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So aren't we asking a question? Are you the mark? Are you still the mark in the scam? And it is a big scam with women. They're going to set you up as the mark. They've got intentions. They know what they want, and your ability to see yourself as not the mark. That's what's gonna save you. If you can't see that and you're still in that denial phase, you're gonna be the mark. And sometimes, like Warren was saying, hey, go down that road. You can fall off that cliff again and get all your shit taken again. But let me tell something to you, and that's what we do around here. Let me share something with you. Don't be the mark. All women are that way. And once you apply that, you're safe again. or at least somewhat safe. I don't know if you're ever truly safe. Hey, men, just because you apply the red pill doesn't mean that they are not still villainous. Uh, some of them will make their way into your life in the most unforeseen ways.
Insidiously.
Insidiously, like I said, the friend of a girlfriend. And that's usually where it affects me now. I'm not bringing women through these doors, but the friend of a friend brings his girlfriend around, and all of a sudden she's treating me in that fashion where, she's treating him, and she thinks the whole world is just her oyster, and she's out there to take. Them are your sister's going to bring it. If you got sisters, she's going to bring a girlfriend around, and she's going to start treating you in that fashion because they don't see it, and they all act the same. Don't get caught with those things. Just because your friend's getting laid, you don't have to pay for it. And I always say that paying for someone else's bitch. We see this a lot in life where you end up paying for someone else's bitch.
Well, misery loves company, right? It's
right.
That, because somebody else is in a relationship and you don't want to be anymore, they feel that you have to be because they are. And that there's nothing better than that, white bread, that they've got, and even though it's got mold and fungus on it, they still got that white bread, right? And they look, when I put my wife in a nursing home, people were already asking me, "You going to date again?" Are you shitting me?
Really?
I mean, yeah, and I still get the question occasionally from people, and I rarely talk to people anymore. I mean, I'm getting so tired of it, but. Are you going to date? Aren't you lonely? Aren't you? I'm tired of explaining it anymore. But why is everybody so concerned about my goddamn sex life?
Bed bugs.
Oh, Jesus Christ! No, I'm happy doing my own thing, and for some reason people don't understand it. I'm talking about men and women. That I am perfectly content the way I'm going about things, but I think it pisses them off because I get to do with my time what I want to do, and I spend the money on what I want, without question. And I don't know if they want me to be as miserable as they are, or if it's even a real agenda that they're on, other than to think that you can't be happy unless you're in a relationship with somebody. And that has, like I said, I'm just getting tired of explaining it to people that this is so much better than any type of, relationship. And my God, I'm an old guy now. What the hell? I'm going to start over again? Nah.
No, thanks.
I think I can pretty much live my life out the way I see fit at this point in time. I'm not a little kid anymore.
It's actually a lot more freeing too. What I'm discovering, crossing over into the 50 zone too as well, is having done away with all those false expectations, everything that's associated with relationships, it frees up a lot more space. It helps me look at the things that really need to be looked at. And I've said it to Joe. I look forward to being in my 60s, happy, content, and everything makes sense, kind of thing. And I'd like to work towards that. But that's the opportunity that we have, as I see it.
Yeah, it's really freeing, and I think age, it lowers the testosterone for one thing, where you don't think with your dick anymore.
Yeah.
And that's not very prevalent, and when you weigh the odds on everything else, I mean, my God, it looks so depressing, this whole dating thing, this whole going out and spending time, and when you could be doing so much other things that are so much more enjoyable than listening to somebody else ramble on about their fucking day, or how their girlfriend did this, or how this neighbor did that, or Jesus, leave me alone, man. You get to the point where you've just had enough, and it's no longer interesting. And I think even in my late 20s, and when I was dating, I feigned interest in what women were saying. I really didn't care. You know, I wanted to get laid. That's what the whole point of it was. But the torture I had to go through to listen to their babbling and going-ons and their wants and their needs and their, you know, I want to go here, I want to do this, how about take me for a ride, you know, oh, Jesus Christ, what do I look like, a carnival? You know, come on. But, you know, hey, you get laid at the end of the night, it was all worth it, right? I'm not in that situation anymore, and boy, do I thank the stars.
Guys, we're just coming up to 1 o'clock here, our 2-hour mark. Do we want to extend this? Do we still have anything to discuss? I was also wondering to go into the second part in an hour from now. Any thoughts on that?
I'm about done babbling.
Joe? Joe, you there?
He's muted.
Oh, he's muted. Oh, okay. I wasn't paying attention to that.
Ryan and Heartburn. Heartburn's not paying attention again. He's just off in the kitchen doing something, listening.
If Nico were on board, as Nico would say, I thought about my dick the other day, and that's what he would say.
Dick.
Well, I mean, if we let's see if anybody in the chat room has anything. Anybody who's been listening in, if you have any questions, anything you want to direct.
Questions would be great because
some questions talking about this subject, and we might have some follow-up discussions exploring that further, Ryan. Probably outside of this, you know, we've been talking about getting other hangouts going too as well during the weekday or towards the weekend. So no, but it's a good topic. Talking about the you know, the inner workings of codependency, how to get out of it, especially. But we do have the platform here, that's for sure. I think, you know, having been in those rooms before and years ago,
absolutely.
You know, we definitely have the platform here. And you're living proof of that, Ryan, okay, the way you woke up, so to speak. And,
absolutely.
You know, and it continues, and your infrared vision's now becoming more focused. You know, you're able to see things now, you know, from a different light, instead of owning up to everything that's supposedly yours that you didn't own in the first place, right? Yeah, it's all because you had to play and you had to roll with the societal expectations surrounding that. So, you know, again, that's a good topic.
Absolutely.
Well, we're not getting much of a response here from the chat room. So is Joe still muted? Because I think he has control. Yeah, he does.
He's still muted.
Okay.
So, not much we can do about that.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got his son running off with something. Maybe he went out there and started the lawnmower up. Who knows?
That's it. Well, maybe we can close this off now and see if we can come back in the second session. Now I've got to have dinner at 2 o'clock, family dinner here. So to get that started, maybe we can discuss that in the next hour or so in our private hangout. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay. Okay. Any of you guys have anything else to say? Heartburn, do you have anything else to add to this? I guess he's not here. Nico's in the chat room and he's saying, fuck you, guys. Well, fuck you too, Nico. Okay? We fucking love you, you little fucking... Anyways, I won't go there. Yeah, you dick. That's right. I couldn't say that. I wanted to say something else, you know. Penis boy. There he goes. I think he's graduated now. You know. He's now Fallacial Man instead of... from penis boy to Fallacial Man. You've earned your stripes there, Nick. Okay. Well, I have nothing further to add, and let's give ourselves an hour break, I guess. And for those that want to rejoin, let's do that.
Okay, we'll see you then, guys. Good talking to you, man.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, who'd we just lose? Zeta and Orion's still in, Heartburn's still in, and Warhorse is out, and Zeta's out, and well, Nico's in the chat now.
I'm here. I've been listening the whole time, guys. I'm just away from the mic, but I really like listening to these conversations in the morning, even when I can't participate.
Okay. Well, it's Where does Zeta take off to?
Oh, he said he'll be back in an hour.
He said, oh yeah, he's going to start the next one, and this was supposed to run 2 hours, and then we'll start the next one up. So,
Joe, what do I do? Just click leave call?
yeah, you can click leave call if you want to leave the call.
Okay.
And that'll take, or just click off your browser, and that'll take you out too.
Perfect. All right, gentlemen, thank you.
I'm not leaving. I'm going to run this thing by myself after everybody goes. I'm just kidding.
You want me to stick around?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to be around either. I'll see y'all at 2.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll shut this this Sunday down now. And what did we learn today, man? If there's any last questions up there, and that's about it. I can see Nico. Hello, Nico, and this will be goodbye, Nico. And you men take care, and Zeta's podcast will be live in about an hour again. Thanks a lot.